Hello, my name is Michelle Heron, and my presentation of conflicting rights is over the issues of freedom of speech and censorship. My question is, can a school discipline a student for comments made after school hours and off campus? In 2017, high school freshman Brandy Levy was suspended for 1 year from her junior varsity cheerleading team after posting a vulgar comment about her school and team regarding her not making the varsity cheerleading team. She made the comment using several F-bombs on Snapchat. The post was screenshotted by several people and reported to the coaches. The coaches gave Brandy the suspension, saying that the snap broke both school and team rules, which require that students respect the school, teammates, and coaches, and not use inappropriate language or say anything negative about the team or coaches on social media. The arguments for this case are between the freedom of speech and school censorship. The landmark case for freedom of speech came in 1969 in Tinker versus Des Moines. This has long marked students' rights to freedom of speech and expression through the students wanting to wear black armbands in protest of the Vietnam War, and the court ruled in the case of the students, saying that wearing the armbands did not cause any disruption in school and that they had the right to wear them. Brandy Levy argued that her First Amendment rights to freedom of speech were violated and that her form of expression took place off campus and were not a disruption to school. The arguments for school censorship, more recently, the courts have upheld school censorship over student freedom. So much that some thought that the protection of the Tinker case had disappeared altogether. Two of those cases that argued for school censorship were Bethel versus Frazier. That case ruled that the school officials could suspend Matthew Frazier for obscene language during a school assembly, making a distinction between political and sexual speech, the latter which could be considered disruptive. Hazelwood versus Kuhlmeyer ruled that schools have the right to regulate what's published in the school newspaper and that they can restrict any writings that is, quote, inconsistent with the school's basic educational mission. In this case, the school argued that they could regulate certain speech, even off campus, because it violated school rules and could be considered disruptive. Analysis. In this case, the court ruled in favor of Levy, and Justice Breyer wrote in the controlling opinion that there was no evidence that suggested any, quote, substantial disruption to the school environment or learning. Also, in the case, they quoted, while public schools may have a special interest in regulating some off-campus student speech, the special interests offered by the school are not sufficient to overcome Brandy Levy's interest in free expression in this case. Breyer did note that there were several kinds of off-campus conduct that would warrant school regulation, such as bullying, threats aimed at the school, teachers, or students, or activities like hacking school computers, and that he would leave those kind of cases to future cases to make those decisions. Lessons learned. Schools do have the right to restrict some freedom of speech when it involves harassment, bullying, and threats made against the school, teachers, or students. But schools do not have the right to restrict freedom of speech off campus simply because it's vulgar, offensive, controversial, or unpopular. In this case, I think the Supreme Court got it right. There seems to be a fine line drawn here between freedom of speech and censorship. There have been cases won on both sides of the issue. I think in this case, however, that the court did a good job of respecting the student's right to freedom of speech and taught the importance of respecting the rights of others' freedom of speech. Here are my references. Thank you very much.